She came out of the shower wearing only a towel. I hugged her, and she flinched. "Ouch," she said. "My back hurts." I pulled the towel away and saw long, red scratches, like claw marks. And I knew immediately they weren't from me. She turned away. "I must have bumped into the sofa," she said. I remembered she had spent the night at her sister's place. But I also knew no sofa leaves marks like that. The bathroom mirror had fogged up, and I stood there gripping the sink so tightly my knuckles turned white. I couldn't get the image out of my head, for clearly defined red lines running diagonally across her pale back, from her right shoulder blade down to the middle of her spine. The kind of marks that come from passion, from fingers clinging in ecstasy, something we hadn't shared for months. Then I heard Elaine's voice through the door. "David, is everything okay?" I splashed cold water on my face, trying to shake the daze. "Yeah, just a minute." When I opened the door, she was wearing jeans and one of my old college sweatshirts, way too big for her. It covered her body like armor. Her wet hair hung in front of her face, and as always, she wore no makeup. "I thought I'd go do a bit of shopping," she said, avoiding my eyes. "We're out of coffee." "At 9 p.m.? I asked, my voice unnaturally calm. She shrugged and twirled her car keys around her finger. "The store's open 24 hours. You just showered. Feels like a strange time to head out." Her answer came too quickly, almost rehearsed. "How's your sister?" I asked, letting the sentence hang in the air. "Mark," she answered without missing a beat. "She's hanging in there. You know Kate. Always pulling herself together." I nodded slowly. Her sister's boyfriend was Paul. Had been for 3 years. "I think I'll come with you," I said, grabbing my jacket from the hook on the door. A flash of panic crossed her face before she forced it into a smile. "Don't be silly. I'll be right back. You've had a long day at work." But I insisted. I stepped closer, my height letting me look down at her. "Unless there's a reason you don't want me to come along?" She took a step back. "What are you implying, David?" "Nothing," I said with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I just want to spend some time with my wife." We drove in silence. The radio filled the space between us with a cheesy pop song about summer love. The irony wasn't lost on me. I watched Elaine's hands on the steering wheel. Her wedding ring caught the glow of the streetlights, a reminder of our 7 years together, wrapped in gold. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I checked it. It was a message from my best friend, Mike. "Have you seen the photos I sent you? Got them last night at O'Mellis." I opened our chat and scrolled up. 3 blurry photos from the Irish pub downtown. My stomach tightened as I swiped through them. People were drinking, dancing, laughing, and then, in the 3rd photo, I saw her. Elaine, sitting in the corner at a table, next to a man I didn't recognize. His arm was around the back of her chair, his face close to hers. "Who is that?" I asked, holding the phone out to her. Elaine's eyes flicked to the screen and back to the road. Her hands gripped the wheel tighter. "I don't know what you're talking about. This was taken last night. At O'Mellis. You're right there in the corner." She suddenly pulled into the parking lot of a closed gas station and threw the car into park. "Can you stop?" she said, her voice shaking with something close to outrage, but I could hear the fear beneath it. "Mike was there celebrating his promotion. He didn't even notice you were in the photos, until I told him you were supposed to be with Kate." I turned in my seat to face her. "Who is he, Elaine?" She stared straight ahead through the windshield. "A colleague. From the Denver office. He's in town for the merger talks. And you just happened to run into him at a bar, 20 kilometers from your sister's place." I needed a drink after spending the evening dealing with Kate's drama. She finally looked at me. Her expression hardened. "What exactly are you accusing me of, David? Just because of the scratches on my back, you jumped straight to cheating?" Her eyes filled with tears, but I'd seen her cry on command before, like when she wanted her parents to buy her a car in college, or when she got out of a traffic ticket last year. "I don't even know what to think anymore," I admitted. "But I do know you're lying to me." When we got home, neither of us mentioned the supermarket again. She went straight to the bedroom and closed the door behind her. I stayed in the living room, pacing back and forth, replaying the past few months in my head, searching for signs I had missed. The frequent business trips that hadn't been there before. The new passwords suddenly set on her phone and laptop. The sudden interest in fitness. Now she was going to the gym 4 evenings a week. And then there was the way our intimacy had changed. Less often, more excuses, headaches, fatigue, stress. I sat down at her desk in the corner of the living room and opened her laptop. It asked for a password. I tried her birthday. Nothing. Our anniversary. Wrong again. Her mother's maiden name. Still nothing. Then I typed in Denver, and the screen unlocked. Her email app opened automatically. I scrolled through, but nothing stood out until I opened the deleted items folder. Dozens of emails from someone named Alex Reeves. They were short, sweet, too sweet. I opened the most recent one, sent just yesterday morning. I can't wait to feel your arms around me again tonight. These stolen moments are never enough. When will you finally tell him? My breathing got shallower as I clicked through email after email. They talked about plans to meet, intimate details of their nights together, complaints about me, about our marriage. In one of the more painful messages, they even joked about how clueless I was. Then I heard the bedroom door open. I quickly closed the laptop. She came out in silk pajamas, her face freshly washed. She looked soft, innocent. David, she said quietly, can we talk about this? I think there's been a misunderstanding. I pointed to the sofa. Please, clear things up. She sat down and tucked her legs under herself. The man in the photo is Alex Reeves, she said. He's leading the Denver expansion. Yes, we've been working closely together. We met for a drink to go over some confidential details of the merger. I didn't tell you because, well, you always get uncomfortable when I mention I'm meeting with men. And the scratches? I asked. She looked at the floor. This is a bit embarrassing, but I've been seeing a massage therapist. He uses a technique called gua sha. It involves scraping the skin to stimulate healing. That's what you saw. It was a good lie, thoughtfully crafted, a neat explanation for everything. And it even made me sound like the irrational, jealous husband. It might have worked if I hadn't just read her emails. Interesting, I said, reaching for my phone. Because I just spoke to your sister. She was worried about you. Said you promised to bring her cat's medication last night and never showed up. Elaine's face went pale. And these emails with Alex, they seem to show exactly where you really were. I held up my phone, showing her the photos I'd taken of the email screen. A backup, in case she tried to delete anything. She stared at me for a long moment before her shoulders slumped. How did you even get into my laptop? Your password wasn't Denver. It was almost Fort Knox, I said with a bitter laugh. And here I thought you were being so careful. How long? I asked. She sighed. For months. Since the Denver project started. Do you love him? The question burned in my throat. I don't know. She looked at me, for the first time since we'd gotten home. Maybe. He makes me feel alive, David. When was the last time either of us felt alive? That hit hard. Because it was true. We had built a comfortable life over the years. But the fire, the passion we once had faded into Netflix nights and talks about kitchen renovations. So this is my fault? I asked. No, she said. But it's not your fault, either. She ran a hand through her hair. We've been living apart for years. You must have felt that too. I had. But I told myself it was just the natural evolution of a long-term relationship. Not a reason to go looking for fulfillment somewhere else. Were you ever going to tell me? I asked. She looked away. He wants me to move to Denver with him. What if the project is over? She whispered. And what do you want? I asked. I don't know, she said again, barely audible. I stood up. Then figure it out. Because I don't share my wife. That night, I slept in the guest room, staring at the ceiling until dawn. When I finally dragged myself out of bed, Elaine was already gone. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. I need some time to think. I'm at a hotel. I called in sick and spent the day like a ghost, floating between bursts of fury and waves of grief. By evening, I had left 17 increasingly desperate voicemails on Elaine's phone. On the third day, Mike showed up with whiskey and pizza. You look like hell, he said, pushing past me into the apartment. Thanks, I mumbled, dropping onto the sofa as he poured 2 generous glasses. Have you heard from her? I shook my head. Radio silence. I think she turned her phone off. He handed me a glass. Maybe it's best to give you both time to cool off. I'm not the one who needs to cool down, I said. I'm not the one who's been sneaking around with someone else for months. Mike took a long sip. I know this isn't what you want to hear right now, but what are you going to do if she chooses him? I stared into my glass. I don't know. Listen, man, I've known you both since college. What she did is inexcusable, but what? Mike hesitated. But you checked out of this marriage a long time ago. All those late work nights, the weekends on the golf course. When's the last time you took her on a date? Told her she looked beautiful. I wanted to argue, but instead, I just emptied my glass and poured another. So I deserve this. No, nobody deserves this. I'm just saying, relationships don't die overnight. After Mike left, I pulled out our wedding album and flipped through the pages. Smiling faces. Elaine in her white dress, looking at me like I was her entire world. Me, young, hopeful, convinced we had beaten the odds and found something real. On the last page, there was a quote we chose together. Love is not about finding the perfect person, but about seeing an imperfect person perfectly. I slammed the album shut and grabbed my car keys. The Denver office was in a gleaming glass tower downtown. I used my company ID to pass through security and asked the receptionist to send me to Alex Reeves. 15th floor. Corner office, she said with a smile. My heart pounded in the elevator. I had no plan, no speech, just raw emotion pulling me forward. His assistant tried to stop me, but I brushed past her. Alex was standing at the window, phone to his ear. He looked exactly like the high-flying corporate type, tall, polished, perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than my mortgage. He turned at the sound of the door. His face went from irritation to recognition as he hung up. You must be David, he said. And you must be the man who's sleeping with my wife. He didn't even flinch. I think we should handle this like civilized adults. Civilized? I laughed bitterly. Was it civilized to leave marks on her back? To plan your future behind mine? He pointed to a chair. Please, sit. I understand you're upset. Upset is putting it mildly, I said. She's told me everything, he said calmly. She's confused, torn between her loyalty to your shared history and her feelings for me. Feelings, I repeated. Do those include honesty, respect, or just excitement and novelty? Something flickered in his eyes. Anger maybe, or guilt. I love her, he said. This isn't just some office fling. You barely know her. I know enough, he said, leaning forward. I know she feels unappreciated. Forgotten. I know she cried after you forgot her birthday last year. I know she wants to get her master's, but hasn't told you because you shut it down 3 years ago, saying it was too expensive. Every word hit like a hammer, because he was right. I had forgotten her birthday. I was deep in a client presentation. I had discouraged her from going back to school. I was worried about finances. Where is she? I asked quietly. He hesitated. The Four Seasons. Room 1542. He pulled a key card from his drawer and handed it to me. She doesn't know I'm giving you this. But whatever happens between you two, it should happen without secrets or confusion. I took the card. Why are you helping me? Because I want her to be sure. I don't care if she chooses me out of guilt or fear. I just want her to choose clearly. He turned back to his desk. For what it's worth, she talks about you. The good years. The man you used to be. I waited 20 minutes outside room 1542 before I could bring myself to knock. When Elaine opened the door, she looked both better and worse. She was dressed in fresh clothes, her hair styled, but dark circles sat under her eyes, and there was a hollowness in her cheeks. Alex told you where I am, she said. It wasn't a question. Can I come in? She stepped aside, letting me into the suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city. The sky was painted in vivid orange and soft pinks, a beautiful backdrop to our broken moment. I didn't expect to see you, she said, crossing her arms. I didn't expect to be here, I replied. I walked to the window and looked out. Nice view. Corporate perks, she said with a bitter smile. It felt surreal, but I wasn't ready to dive into the chaos just yet. Have you worked it out? I asked. I'm trying, she said softly, but it's hard to focus. I turned to her. I met Alex today. Her face went pale. What happened? Nothing dramatic. We talked. He seems decent. As decent as a man can be who's sleeping with someone else's wife. David, please. I've spent the last few days thinking about us, about where we went wrong. I took a deep breath. I was a lousy husband. Her eyes widened in surprise. I took you for granted. I stopped really seeing you. I got comfortable, lazy, just assumed you'd always be there. I stepped closer. But that doesn't excuse what you did. You made a decision, Elaine. You chose to lie, to betray my trust, to give yourself to someone else instead of telling me that you were unhappy. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I tried to tell you, so many times, but you were always busy, always distracted. Then you should have shouted it, thrown things, left, anything but this. She wiped her tears. I know, and it hurts. I'm sorry. It's over with him. She hesitated. I think. I don't know. Do you love him? I think I could. The honesty was brutal, but necessary. But I still love you too, she added. That never stopped. Even when I was with him. I let out a bitter laugh. That doesn't make it better. I'm not trying to make you feel better. I'm trying to be honest. Finally, we stood there in silence. 7 years of life together, decisions, mistakes, memories, hung between us. I want to come home, she finally said. I want to try to fix this. If you'll let me, I'll end it with Alex. Completely. I'll ask for a transfer to another project. I searched her face for sincerity. I don't know if we can fix this, Elaine. Some things, once broken, stay broken. I know, she whispered. She reached for my hand. But don't we owe it to ourselves to try? The drive home was quiet, but not like before. This silence wasn't about avoidance. It felt like space, room for reflection. When we got to the house, I hesitated before turning off the engine. What now, she asked. Now we start over. With honesty. With effort. With the understanding that it won't be easy. She nodded. I'll sleep in the guest room. Inside, the house felt different. As if the walls themselves had absorbed our pain and our attempt at change. She went to the bedroom to pack up her things. I stood in the kitchen, by our table, by the photo from our wedding still hanging on the wall. When she came out with a small travel bag, our eyes met across the room. I have something for you, I said, pulling an envelope from my pocket. Open it. Inside were 2 plane tickets. To Paris. 3 months from now. The place where we'd spent our honeymoon. David, I can't promise we'll use them. I can't promise we'll still be together in 3 months. I'm not asking you to promise that, I said. I'm just asking you to fight. If you're willing to try, so am I. She clutched the tickets to her chest, fresh tears running down her face. I don't deserve this chance. Maybe not. But we both made mistakes. Different kinds. Different sizes. But still mistakes. I stood up. Therapy starts tomorrow. I've already scheduled the first session. Okay. And Elaine, no more lies. Not one. If you feel yourself pulling away, if you miss him, even if it hurts, tell me. Especially when it hurts. I promise. 3 months later, I stood beside Elaine at Charles de Gaulle Airport, watching her take in the sounds and signs of Paris. We weren't healed. Not whole. The trust was still fragile, rebuilt day by day, through painful talks and hesitant reconciliations. Alex was now working in the Seattle office. Elaine had shown me their last email exchange, his frustration, his sadness, his eventual acceptance. I deleted it myself. A small gesture. A step forward. Our therapist had warned us. The affair would always be part of our story. A scar that would fade but never fully disappear. Some days, I'd still picture them together. I'd hear questions in my head I didn't want answered. But other days, I could see the possibility of something stronger. Something tested and tried. Are you ready? Elaine asked, her eyes full of cautious hope. I took her hand. I felt the familiar weight of her wedding ring press against my palm. Let's find out. As we stepped into the Paris afternoon, I noticed something for the first time. The scratches on her back, they were gone. Completely healed. No visible trace. Some wounds, it seems, can disappear from view, though their memory stays beneath the surface. The marks we leave, both visible and invisible, tell the story of who we are. And maybe that's what I thought, as we walked hand in hand into an uncertain future. Some stories deserve a second ending.